Everyone. So excited to be here. Welcome to our webinar where tech forward meets people first. We're just kicking things off. We're going to go over some housekeeping items in just a few minutes, but boy, oh boy, am I excited to be here. I haven't done a Workforce Live event in some time. And Eric, this is your first time.
Very first.
Very first time to do.
Hopefully not the last.
No, certainly not the last time that Eric will be joining us. And as you guys can tell, we're doing this live and in person, so a little bit of a different vibe for y'all. As folks are still trickling in, we're going to go through some of our housekeeping items for today. First off, today's session is going to be a quick 25-minute session over some questions that I have for Eric. After that, we'll be spending the last 5 minutes of today's session with some Q&A. And we want to keep this super engaging. So go into your chat, give us some comments, give us some questions, and we'll try our best to address as many as we can over the last 5 minutes. And also, if you have other things to do, because we're all super busy, don't worry, because we'll be following up with a recording. Every single registrant will be getting a recording of today's session as a follow-up. So without further ado, we're going to kick it off in about 1 minute. This is going to be a great webinar. And here we go. All right. So welcome once again. This is our webinar where tech forward meets people first. I am your host. I'm the CEO at MyBase Pay. My name is Angela Alberti, and I am joined by
Eric Edelstein.
And Eric Edelstein is our CTO and really the brain behind FlexWork OS. And I think it's not lost on us and how incredibly fast the world is moving around us. Technology has shifted more in the last 6 months than many people have seen really in their lifetime. And what we want to talk about today is really how all of this translates into the workforce ecosystem that we are a part of. You know, we're dealing with thousands and thousands of workers across the world under contract labor, freelance and engagements. And there is so much at stake for how their experience, how the processes, how the infrastructure really can change. That's what we want to get down to today. All of these areas are touching some level of AI. So we're definitely going to be diving into it. And I just want to kick off with Eric, your POV, right? 2026, crazy fast moving, but why? What have you seen happen this year? And if you could compare that to like your 20+ year career in HR tech and workforce industries, what it really has what have you seen?
Sure. So thank you for pointing out that I'm old. So I started in HR tech around 2001 in the MSP VMS space, went through staffing, did a lot of EOR work. What I can say is that until February for me, actually, the technology hasn't changed a lot. It was all the same sort of thing. Yeah, people did better versions of things. There are new design architectures that are in favor now that, but fundamentally how you built an app and more importantly, the time it took to build an app kind of remained fairly constant. So then about 2 years ago, some AI coding tools started coming on the market and we looked at them where I was working at that time, and we saw about a 20% speed improvement for developers using these new tools. And so that was like, yeah, take it or leave it. Let's invest in it if you want to. It wasn't that important. February comes, Anthropic drops Opus 4.6 with an announcement of some technology that they built. Well, it wasn't they that built it. It was actually AI that itself built it. There was an introduction of what was called autonomous teams. So instead of a developer working with an agent, you could actually spawn an entire development team with an engineering manager, a QA manager, QA engineers, back-end database engineers, all these different roles that we have people for, you can now have as AI agents running themselves, able to coordinate between each other. This is totally new. So we tried it. And what we found, and again, I've been doing this since 2001, so that's like 25 years. I personally, and I was the lead architect and developer for for a large set of HCMs and EORs. I personally am 50 times faster at delivering functionality. That's 50 times faster. So we tend to think right now is when AI speeds everything up. That is not actually the important thing. And you're actually going to like this part. So what's really important now is who is actually creating our products. It's not tech as much. So at my base pay where we are, our tech department is building the smallest part of the app. It is actually our operations team, our sales team, who are actually defining and actually building the app. So yeah, we've got a couple of builders. That's true. We've got a team of folks that are doing that and the architecture and all that. But it's actually the company that is designing the tool. It is the sales team. The sales team probably has designed the most of our app, having met with all of our clients and prospects. So if you're one of the people that has been in any of our demos, provided feedback, thank you. We took it to heart. We built, we listened, we build. That's the point. Is tech right now is not based on what can I code? It's knowing what to code, and you have to have the right people. So bringing the whole company to actually build your next generation technology is revolutionary. It is no longer, here's your dedicated tech team building and getting some input. Now it's actually the whole team swarms, your company swarms around building it. I will say, you personally as CEO have had the most impact. You have actually designed the most of FlexWork OS, right? Yeah, yes, I have, you said, right? You have. And that is radically different than the way tech teams, well, hell, the way HR companies, staffing firms, MSPs have built their technology. It's drastically different.
It's very exciting. I think the one thing that you said that just echoes in my mind is I operate at 50x faster. That's incredible. And we think about why this is not an incremental shift. This is truly a fundamental shift, and how that experience really saturates itself, first of all, into the marketplace, right? What we know and what we can look at players that all of a sudden can compete and compete in a way that can radically change the way and the traditional way that we have thought about workforce and staff aug infrastructure. So there's going to be a challenge, and there's going to be an emergence of what we see happening at a rate we have never seen before. And I think at the ethos of all of this, right, as I've learned throughout the year, throughout these 6 months, there's been concepts that have been fundamental to this shift. And one of those I wasn't aware of, like I'm learning through it, just even in the fast pace that we've experienced, that's human in the loop, right? I think in concept, I understood, right? We want to have a level of discernment of an actual human involved in every single important decision-making process. These informed decisions are going to be conducted by humans in a world where we are being informed, being automated, and being like basically in front of so many different complements to how we can make that decision. And I want to get your thoughts on human in the loop, why it's critical, why it's essential, why it's the non-negotiable of everything that we look at and consider when it comes to AI.
Absolutely. Sure. So first I want to go back to one point. You keep talking about 6 months ago. February 15th was 3.5 months ago.
Yeah, that's true.
Think about everything that has happened last.
True.
I mean, I don't know if it's the same for all of you guys, but 2026 is a year that likely very many of us will never forget. This is unseen. Also, you talked about speed. I mentioned 50 times faster. I tracked recently on a good week when I'm not in meetings all the time. Who does that? Meetings all the time. I can deliver around 14 new features a week. When I say features, and by the way, that's really the important thing. I'm not talking about code. How much code did you write? Who cares? That's what doesn't matter anymore. The code is not the thing. It's the feature. It's the value to the business. When I talk about new features, I'm thinking things like, I don't know, independent contractor invoicing. That's a feature. The ability to manage suppliers as part of an MSP program. That's a feature. So if one guy can deliver around 14 features in a week, I mean, it's impossibly fast. I personally cannot get my brain wrapped around what we're doing and how fast things evolve. This brings us next to the point about human in the loop. Therefore, what we build, what's so important are the decisions we make. So everything we do here at MyBasePay and needs to be everywhere else, has got to be people first, right? It's not about the technology. It's rather about our workers. It's about our customers, and it's about our internal staff. They have got to be the center of our world. And so, yeah, we're going fast, but it's the decisions you make. If you can deliver 11 features, 14 features, 20 features, or if you've got a team of people, then how you choose your features, how you choose your priorities is what's really important. Okay, so let's talk about humans in the loop. So when I first started looking at using AI, we were with Opus 4.6. And at that point, this was mid-February, if you remember, the general recommendation was act as an engineering manager and your AI, think of them as a junior engineer. Okay, well, the most recent updates now say act as an architect with your AI agents as senior engineers. That means that the AI agents have transferred from junior engineers to senior engineers in 3 months. That is impossible to get your mind wrapped around. I mean, for people, that's a good solid 5 to 10 years. 3 months, okay, this is the scale is possible. So you look at AI and say, well, if they're that smart, why should they be driving everything, right? That's the trick, and that's actually a big pitfall. So there are fundamentally three reasons why we don't do that. First is technical, the second is regulatory, and the third is moral, ethical, okay? So let's start with technical. If you haven't done it, I know you have, Google how many E's are in the word 17, right? You will see this. You will see hallucination off the track. It's a real thing. I've tried it in even some of our most recent models. It is abysmal how bad AI can handle this. That means that hallucinations still are there. And yes, there are certain questions that will lead to hallucination. We know that. But the real point is you cannot rely on an AI response to be perfectly correct. You cannot do that. It will simply be wrong some of the time.
Can I stop you there? Because I think what was so critical for us as an organization was to have a level, and I know you're going to speak to regulatory, but there also has to be some level of internal governance
Yes.
and discernment. And we recently had a lunch and learn where we went into ChatGPT and we went into Claude and we asked it, how many E's are in 17? So the ability for our team to be able to all see a live hallucination in place as we're trying to apply practical AI governance policies internally is the number one reason that we have to have a human in the loop. It was so alarming to be able to go through that and see that these are the systems that we somewhat are relying on in retrospect, right?
Absolutely. Right. And that's why you do need review. And especially, I'm going to switch straight into legal regulatory.
Yeah, legal regulatory.
So according to the EU AI Act, human must be in the loop for anything involving employment decision. Okay. So if you've got any global work in the EU, it is regulatorily required. Okay. GDPR also has a lot to say about this. So from a regulatory practice, you have to have someone in the loop. You also have to expose when you're using AI, there have to be certain opt-outs. You need all of that. But also there's this simple moral ethical aspect that's really important that we forget. So again, people matter. People's lives matter. People's ability to work and feed their families, and have a shelter for their families, that really matters. So employment decisions matter, right? It cannot be left to something as impersonal as an AI agent, right? So, and there's some actual real important stuff behind this. None of us want implicit bias. If we're not careful, AI can actually continue implicit bias. Let me give a really simple example. So here's a perfect example of AI when we first all tried it. Here's a company, and they've been hiring people for the past 30 years. Great. Now we want to automate that for fast decision making. So we look at resumes. And if something matches resumes, just like people that have hired and succeeded before, great, we hire them. Right? It sounds like It's great. We're hiring people fast. We're using AI brilliantly. But if you've had a pattern of hiring, of just say certain patterns of hiring, it will actually continue hiring according to that pattern. So that implicit bias is there. As someone who's trying to improve workforce efficiency, reduce OpEx, you don't even think about that, but the AI will do that. So there's actually a lot of places where AI, unchecked, will do things that you don't intend for it to do. So that's why you have to review the answers, review what it says, and also think about it ethically and morally.
Yeah.
Is there actually a bias coming in? Now, we have some tricks. Can I give away some of our tricks?
Sure.
Sure. Okay, cool. So we have two big tricks. One, AI can only be used to recommend. We will never make an automated decision off of anything that AI does. I don't usually recommend things for other companies. I recommend that for every company.
Okay.
Automated decision-making based on AI, when it comes to employment, just don't. But have brilliant recommendations. And one of our tricks is have the explanation behind the recommendation there. That is a differentiator. You guys are all going to figure it out anyway. Everyone's going to be doing this. It's really important so that when a recommendation is questioned and you've gone with it, and you need to back it up, here's actually the defense behind it. Two, if one AI agent can hallucinate, it's less likely both will.
Mhm.
So think about that. There's adversarial agent patterns that we use. I believe that will be commonplace across the whole industry.
There's your prediction. A couple of them are going to be embedded throughout this brilliant mind on today's webinar. Okay, awesome. So what really resonated with me with that response? Thank you for that, first of all, those three different areas. This is regulatory, this is ethical, and this is real when it comes to hallucinations. But at the end of the day, it's all subject to the people and the way that we treat those people whose very livelihood depends on many different providers and programs that are part of this billion-dollar contract labor industry. And I want to just double down on that comment because, and I'm not saying that because really relatively my base pays core value is that we advocate for the worker, but just as we're at the dawn of a new era across so many different areas, technologically speaking, that experience now that we can be able to give to workers, right? Talk to me about where you envision that going, and really where you see that entrenched into this new world of AI.
Yeah, that's a great one. And it's interesting that you asked that because mostly when people talk about AI, they talk about job reduction, they talk about all the fear. And you're talking about the exact opposite, the opportunity to help.
Yeah.
So I want to start with the fear side and talk about how we combat it. In the tech world, I happen to live in Silicon Valley, as you know, place that you love and hold dear.
I do.
There's a lot of job loss in some of the big companies. So people think about AI and job loss in tech. It's not going to be just tech. Claude Code, as many of us know and love, along with Codex and Cursor and other dev tools. Well, there's non-dev versions of things like Claude Cowork, right? That bring the similar types of capacity, efficiency improvement to the general business. So that's going to have a lot of impact on general administrative work. So what to do about that? This is where our world, this is what I love about our world. This is what I love about HR Tech and why I've stayed in it for so long. Our world is all about providing opportunity, right? So what we have to do is maximize the opportunity, focus on that. A couple ways to do that. One, globally. There's opportunities for people to work all over the world. We happen to be a global EOR, so we get to do that. And that's one of the great things we get to see. We get to work in all of these countries where just getting a job is so important. So we get to facilitate that. And the more we bring in AI, the better we're able to do that. In two different fashions. One is EOR, employer of record, where the worker is an employee. The other is AOR, agent of record, where we have contract labor. So let's talk about contract labor, because we don't talk about this with AI that much.
Right.
But one of the challenges with contract labor is being compliant, right? And you think, well, how does AI help there? So there's this really big hurdle to getting to be classified correctly as an independent contractor in the US, and now a lot of places in the EU are getting very strict about this as well. there's this hurdle with legal stuff. There's hurdles with insurance. So this is prediction now. The ability for people to get like incorporated, for people to get proper legal docs, training, blah, 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 all of that. I think all of that will be facilitated through AI. And we're going to see that the ability to get access to those tools is going to become easier in the lower bar, allowing more people to actually have control over their own careers as independent contractors. I think we're going to see a lot of that. The other thing, obviously, is just, having access to the jobs. What we've seen in Flexwork OS is the ability to actually search, find jobs, and match people. There's been a lot of matching. The level to which we're able to now match people to jobs is kind of off the charts, as you've seen very recently, right? The types of queries, the type of natural language queries you can have that just match people perfectly and explain the reason for the match. This is why Jane Smith is perfect for this job, but notice she doesn't have this skill or whatever. That the ability to do that now is off the charts, which brings us to the last point, and that's the upskilling. Let's really talk about worker advocacy. I believe upskilling is going to see a new dawn.
Prediction number 3. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. So back when I was CTO over a set of staffing firms, one of the things I was most proud of, we had a recruiting division that was actually designed to place homeless people.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
awesome.
It was really cool. I love the company for allowing this. And what we did was we built, this is going back, I don't know, 10, 15 years at this point. Yeah. We built an engine which had given a candidate and their resume, look at who we placed. What one skill would be most impactful to getting them hired? That would increase their probability at least 10% of getting hired. And we did that with a lot of math, a lot of statistics. I happen to be a mathematician, right? So for me, I was able to build that. Well, now with AI, you don't need a mathematician, right? You just have to have the will. That's the thing about AI right now, especially with application development. It's not about the technology skill. It's about having the right thought and the right prioritization and making the right decisions, right? So that I want to actually figure out how to upskill my workers. I want to figure out how to upskill my talent pools. Hello, people, talent pools. Prediction number 4, talent pools are going to be huge moving forward because the access to workers is going to grow exponentially. Being able to categorize them properly, now we get so much more power with AI. But how do you upskill people? Oh, that's a beautiful thing. When you can actually help someone, train them, and there's so much training online, how you actually match someone to training, online training. Again, AI, trivial. It's absolutely trivial. So now you can actually say, hey, here's a person, here's Eric. He's been in this role. We want to get him placed. Hey, look at, if we add this other skill, his probability for getting placed goes up 10%. This is the training required for that. You can do all of this. And then it's not just from a new hire perspective. I think even in an ATS, and every ATS should be doing that in the future, I believe.
Right.
It's both practical, easy, and morally, ethically really good.
Right.
And it creates a larger candidate pool. So of course you need to do that. But also even from an HR perspective, from an HRIS, you've got your staff. How do you upskill them? As jobs shift, especially AI changing the nature of a lot of work, upskilling them so that they can remain valuable to the company. I mean, come on. That's
so good.
That's beautiful stuff, right?
That's so good. I love that. That's a new level of worker advocacy that was just inundated with so many different predictions that we can look to expect. A lot of it was in that continuum, continuum,
right?
The talent pool curation, the loyalty,
moving away from the transactional,
skilling and upskilling. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and the capability to do that now effectively.
Oh, and easily. It's easy to do it.
I love it. All right, so we have about 5 more minutes before we open it up into Q&A. I think we can talk about data. Sure. You kind of hinted on that, like with some of your talent pooling capabilities. And I want us to put ourselves in the mind of a program buyer or maybe a legacy supplier, right? We have data everywhere. We have a lot of it. Yeah. We have it here, we have it there. Yeah. Maybe into some retrospect, buy-based pay as well. Let's say that we have data at a certain point. of our evolution and the pre-years, right?
Even before I got here.
Correct.
Yeah.
Of course, yes. Uh, but let's just say that we're dealing with maybe tech stacks that are broken or limited and how they correspond to one another, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we have reporting
Mhm.
manually done here,
Yeah.
we get it into where we need to shift there. Where does this all tie to in terms of how we can look at and assess? And we don't want to get into the weeds because all of us have some level of difference that
For
we
sure.
can't, right?
For sure.
But, orchestrating our data now,
Yeah.
and the capability to do that this day and age.
It's so funny you use that word, orchestrating our data.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, give me a See, that's the whole point, and that's why she's the CEO, right? And that's why she's dreaming so much of FlexWork. That's exactly the point, is it's not just around stupid stuff. It's actually about reorganizing things. It's about looking at things new. It's about how you orchestrate the data flow, right? So let's talk about this in detail. I can't imagine any company that would do manual reporting or still have spreadsheets in 2026. Who would still have a spreadsheet?
By the way, fun fact, we are on a campaign at My Base Pay, and it's called Kill the Spreadsheet.
Yeah, we have a graveyard.
Graveyard.
I think,
Shout out to Rachel Stone Street, the serial killer.
yeah, I think I was the one that brought that in. I'm like, if I see one more spreadsheet, where I'm turning off Google Drive.
This was 2025. It's been a long time since.
Yeah, no, it's been a very long, yeah, sure. But so anyway, her point really is, this is a really common problem. We all share it. We all have different versions, but we all share it. So here's what you do. There's two aspects. One is how you bring it together, and the second is what you do with it. I've got a quiz question for you on the second part. So let me start with how you bring it together. It's really hard to build new reports. And I say that, it's just, you import a spreadsheet, it's SQL, it's whatever. Okay, there's just a lot of them, right? So again, all those things that are really hard and tedious, they kind of go away. You could say, hey, here's my docs, here's my financial data. It's in this CRM, it's HubSpot, it's whatever. Here, or sorry, did I say the sales, let's say is there. Let's say your financial stuff's in Oracle somewhere. It's hard if you have to manually make all that work. There's actually new ways with AI. There's MCPs along with APIs. There's lots of different versions, lots of different ways of doing this. But you can actually connect your data simply by asking AI to do it for you. Now, use the word orchestration. Connecting your data is the low-hanging fruit. But what do you do with it? And more importantly, what's the business value? Sure, okay, now my reporting is automated. Sure, okay, that's OpEx. That does not get you new revenue. That does not change your bottom line or top line. It's just a little bit, OpEx helps, but. So here's my question to you.
This was not planned, by the way.
No, this is live. So here we are. I give you access to all of the data of your company, because I can do that now.
Yes.
How do you make it valuable?
I think that we would make it valuable across 3 different areas, some of which you've already honed in on today. Where is it going to be valuable for our clients, right? What sort of insights can we give them in real time that speak to performance of our organization, performance of their workers, and performance of the overall commitments that we have made? So that would be the first iteration.
Okay.
And that's what drives ultimate revenue, right? Towards, at the end of the day, what we're all marketing for. The second would be how to utilize that data internally for the benefit of our team. Being able to shift the data across different areas of our operational, let's call it assembly line. What's relevant to the folks that are onboarding, and what's going to actually give them the capability to see data and focus on one thing that will drive every single organization distinctly in this market. And that's, get this, human rapport. It's a novel concept.
Love that.
Human to human interaction. If that's the objective, what sort of data are we giving our team internally to be able to not focus on monotonous administratively cumbersome, reduplicative work and actually make connection to the workers and to the clients that come through our platform. So there's a lot to say on what we can do around data, but also how we can actually track against whether or not that's actually being done. It's available to us. And then I think the third area, also going back to that second point, internal team, the ability to give leadership, like insight into what's happening into the business without having to wait for a report to be prepared 2 business days later. Insight, knowing I can pull up a phone and see what is relevant to me, what is relevant to Eric, what is relevant to all of our leaders across the organization, and customize it to that level, kind of like the assembly line. We're part of that assembly line. And then the third point would be like doubling down and giving insight into the worker experience. So I guess it's every single chain within the ecosystem and how we enrich the lives of every component of that human interaction they're in.
Cool. So I'm gonna have a follow.
Did I fail?
No, I'm gonna do a follow.
Okay.
That's beautiful. Great. We all great answer.
Sure. There was something there that you were looking for.
Oh, we're gonna get there. You
Okay.
haven't passed.
I already know you.
No, you haven't passed yet.
This
I'm
is-
gonna give you a hint. All of my quizzes have the same answer. So let me ask you a different question. I'm about to go into a client.
Sure.
Let's pretend they're actually important. Okay? You
Just
have
so you-
access.
Just so you know, we're running up on time, so.
Oh, God. Apparently I talk a lot. Okay, so you could go into a client and you have access to all of the data in your system. And you just said, oh, well, it's all about the human rapport. How exactly? I mean, exactly do you prepare for that meeting?
You
This is a
really,
quiz question.
you really don't have to because it's available to you.
Hmm,
It's like an on-demand QBR of performance health.
how does that QBR exist?
It's all about the questions that you would need to identify.
How would you identify what questions you think they have?
Oh my gosh, is this a riddle?
Let me give you a hint.
Okay.
This is where AI helps.
Oh, I see. So you mean the discovery questions that would enable us to create a environment that we can show?
I am suggesting that you would go to Claude or whatever your system of record is that has your data, right? And in Flexwork, we have our own chat bot, obviously. You can ask questions. You can actually say, hey, I'm going to meet with a client. You have access to all of their data. What do they need to know? What's really important for me to tell them?
Right. I
And then
gotcha.
you create this. Let me give you a really simple example of data and how it matters. We create, this is fine, we do this in a demo, so I can tell about, right? We, in Flexwork, we have a bot that you actually chat with natural language orally, right? So you click on it, start it, we ask about, hey, tell me about program health. Here's the coolest thing, it tells you things you wouldn't have thought to ask about. So on a recent time we did this, we're doing some real data,
Yeah.
and we asked about it. And it says, hey, there's this project, that's going. And while it looks like it's on track and it's underspent, and it's looking like it will end at the right time, most of the spend has been in the last couple of weeks. And it says, if the spend is, and there was very little at the beginning.
Yeah.
If the plan will take this much time and the spend has only occurred here, it looks like it started late and it's likely going to overrun. It's the sort of thing you would never even think to look at because standard time material tracking says it's on track, green. And our AI points out, actually, no, it's not. So there's questions we don't even think to ask. And it's the hidden patterns. That's really where our AI comes in. First, it's the data gathering. I think that's again, the low hanging fruit. It's the patterns that we don't even think to ask about. And that's what's really going to matter to our workers and our clients. And internally, even how we improve our own business flow.
Wow. Incredible stuff. Well, I think that about wraps up our webinar. I don't
Okay.
think that we'll have a chance to go into the questions. I just wanted to take a look at what questions came in. And there's some good ones. How do we avoid misclassification when AI is involved? Maybe we can have a follow-up, a part 2
Sure.
to all of this. We've got some good ones that came in, but thank you guys all so much for joining us. We appreciate you guys spending some time. Time is a valuable thing, and for y'all to spend some time with us, thank you. I think
All
we're
right.
going to stay for a part 2, so stick around. in the future, we'll do this again. Thank y'all. Have a
Okay,
good one.
Bye.
Bye.